the Inkatha Freedom Party, that's the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, has condemned the killing of one of its councillors, Reginald Ndima. The 58-year-old served as Speaker of the AmaJuba District Municipality in Newcastle. Ndima was shot dead today, 2 months after taking up the position. His death adds to the ever-increasing number of seemingly or allegedly politically motivated murders in KwaZulu-Natal. Last week, the ANC's eThekwini ward councillor, Mkize, was shot dead outside his home. The IFP has called on police to act swiftly to find Ndima's killers. Right, we can talk about this now with IFP's national spokesperson, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, who's joining us from KZN, I believe. Mkhuleko, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time and your patience tonight. Is the IFP treating this as a politically motivated murder?
Good evening, Timby, and good evening to the viewers. Maybe at the outset, the IFP would like to convey its deepest condolences to Bhekumndeni Ndima and the entire family on this very tragic loss of our colleague Ubaba Ndima, who was a member of the IFP's National Council, and as you've said, the Speaker of the AmaJuba District Municipality, and had served really also as the chairperson of the IFP of that district. And so we attribute a lot of the party's success in the recent elections to the hard work that he put in leading the team of the IFP. At this point, of course, because details are very sketchy, the IFP would hate to speculate. However, because this is yet another killing of a political office bearer, specifically in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, it is very difficult to ignore the pattern which continues to exist insofar as political office bearers in KwaZulu-Natal is concerned. And therefore, we are calling on the law enforcement agencies, specifically the South African Police Service, to with speed actually activate the 72-hour response team and to ensure that this matter is brought to a logical legal conclusion of justice. Why we raise this is because in the absence of consequence management, the absence of successful investigations and prosecutions, the criminal syndicate, which is obviously at play here, is emboldened because of that. Therefore, it's a dereliction of duty on the part of police not to act with speed, but also at the same time, the absence of deterrence is actually not setting us in good stead in pushing back on the frontiers of this violence we are seeing.
And as you've said, Mkhuleko, details are still sketchy at this point about what exactly happened. But what have you been told is believed or did indeed happen in the final moments of Speaker Ndima's life?
Well, he was arriving at home and unknown assailants actually opened fire on him as was arriving at home and then sped off. And that is really what is all we know. The family, of course, was present, and the neighbors who heard the very loud shower of gunshots which were directed in his way. And we will be visiting the family tomorrow. The IFP leadership is going to Newcastle tomorrow to actually pay its respects to the Ndima family and to, of course, set into motion now the plans which must play out insofar as memorial service is concerned and the funeral. But most importantly is a discussion with the family about ensuring that they are fine and ensuring that the taken care of, particularly psychological assistance. And so we really want to make sure that counseling and the stability of the health of the family takes priority, because we fundamentally believe that we must, as a party, not just interact with our colleagues, but if they are now deceased, particularly on the suspicions of political violence, then we are duty bound to continue a presence. And so those are all the plans that the party is putting in place to ensure that we are there for the family.
And how fearful are individual politicians, individual councillors in KwaZulu-Natal as far as their safety is concerned, given, as you were saying at the beginning, we're seeing a number of councillors, politicians being killed in almost the same way, yet in many of the cases there's no conclusive finding as to what happened and whether that was linked to their professional role?
Well, of course, the climate of fear will continue to escalate if the police continue to fail. This failure sits squarely at the doorstep of the law enforcement agencies. And it is totally unacceptable that people are losing lives day in and day out when they are servants of the people. And an institution of the state, such as the police, is literally, for all intents and purposes, embarking on a trajectory which is anchored in a laissez-faire attitude in dealing with these matters. It does not bode well for democracy. It does not bode well for stability, good governance, and service delivery to have public representatives who are conducting their work and duty and every material point have to keep on looking over their shoulders. Therefore, it is important that the law enforcement agencies actually do their job so that it can act as a surety and a security reality for councillors in particular, and them doing their job. So this clarion call that we are making is not in a vacuum. It's because we've got a string of persons who have been killed year in and year out, and there is literally no logical conclusion. The dragging of feet on the part of the police is totally unacceptable.
You speak about the dragging of feet by the police, but the issue of political killings in KZN, as you also point out, goes back years. So bad has the situation been that a few years ago we had the Moerane Commission of Inquiry that explored this very issue, and findings came from that spoke about the risk that councillors face because people who want tenders and other contracts perceive them to be powerful, and therefore if they're not seen to be aligning, for example, with whatever corrupt gains or contract in a specific case, they are then quote-unquote taken out. How much progress has actually been made in implementing the recommendations from that report, which was supposed to address the crisis?
Well, the Moerane Commission report was very extensive, and amongst other things, it did actually call on political parties, something which we accepted, that we also, as parties, must tighten up on the internal controls and measures of candidate selection and ensure political party stability in every material respect. This is something that the IFP believes we have successfully done, and where there are areas of concern, we continue to address those. Therefore, of course, the work of the Moerane Commission pointed to inter-party and intra-party violence. But the flip side of that coin is that the issue of corruption that you speak of, again, sits squarely at the doorstep of the law enforcement agencies, because in the absence of successful prosecutions of people who are stealing public funds and are in a syndicate of stealing public funds, if they're not arrested, they're going to continue looting, and they're going to continue on a killing spree to push aside those that are actually standing in their way. So it all goes down to law enforcement. It is an absolute imperative that the law enforcement agencies step up to the occasion of doing their job. They are paid for it. It is not, they've got no other responsibility other than law enforcement. So we're not asking for anything extraordinary here other than them being told to do their job. So whether it's the political killings or the corruption, yes, the law enforcement agencies have got a job to do. Of course, political parties must also deploy with integrity. We must ensure that the due processes of SCM and the prescripts of the MFMA, in particular in local government space, are upheld. So we do need to create a conducive and enabling environment for good governance in those spaces. But we are reliant on law enforcement to ensure that that environment is created.
Spokesperson for the Inkatha Freedom Party, good to speak to you, even though it's under such unfortunate circumstances. Thank you for your time.